The importance of self-awareness for teacher identity. Let's look at how we might apply the conscious competence model as reflective practitioners. First of all, we can start at level 1, unconsciously unskilled. For the reflective practitioner, this is where we're ignorant of what we don't know. What we don't know is invisible to us. We haven't yet uncovered what's missing from our practice and what we need to develop. In order to move out of level 1, to move away from being unconsciously unskilled, it can be very useful for the reflective practitioner to do a personal SWOT analysis, looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In other words, to conduct a personal training needs assessment to identify those areas where you're unskilled and where you need to develop. As part of this, it is very useful to ask other people, to ask colleagues for their input to your training needs assessment. And this can help you uncover weaknesses that you are not aware of. Because you're unconsciously unskilled, there will be areas which you don't know are lacking, and therefore input from outside is incredibly valuable. Also, it's important at this point to make sure that you're very clear about the learning objectives that you have as a teacher, because this will give direction to the skills that you need to develop. At level 2, you're consciously unskilled, or in other words, by this stage, you've discovered those areas which are weak and those areas which need to be developed. And you're aware that you need to learn new skills and acquire new practical ways of doing things. You also realize that you're perhaps much less competent in the role than others that you see around you. And it's very important at this point to remember that you're in a development process and not to lose confidence. Because it's very easy when you're at level 2, when you're consciously unskilled, when you are aware that you have many weaknesses and you have a lot of growth to go through, it's very easy to become unconfident. It's very easy to get demoralized by where you think you are within the profession. And so it's very important to remember that you are developing and to try to maintain that level of confidence. At level 3, you've become consciously skilled. This is where you realize that you have learned and you are able to apply skills in practice. It's where you are starting to put your learning into practice in the classroom, and you can see the benefits of it, and you're also reaping the rewards of that. It's at this point where you are starting to build your confidence. You're becoming more confident with the skills, even though you're actually applying them in a very measured and thought out process. It's not unconscious, it's still conscious at this point. You, therefore, as a practitioner, you're concentrating very hard on applying the skills and making sure that you're applying them in the right sort of way. It's very much about being more aware of what you're doing. And what's important to move from level 3 to level 4 is to look for opportunities where you can practice your skills, develop your skills in new ways, in order to move away from the consciously skilled component to the unconsciously skilled aspect of the model. And if you can practice enough and build up your confidence, then you move to level 4, which is unconsciously skilled. At this level, you're using the skills effortlessly. It seems very easy. There is no hard work. You're not having to think too much about what you're doing because it seems very natural. And at this point, it's important to remember that the learning does not stop. What is important to remember is that you can continue to learn even though you are unconsciously skilled. You are at level 4. And a good way to do this is to work with other people, maybe to teach other practitioners, other teachers, and so pass on the skills that you've learned to others, or to share the skills that you have within the organization. And it's important to do this because this keeps the information fresh for you. And more than that, the best way to get a really deep understanding of knowledge and a really well-practiced set of skills is to teach other people rather than just to learn them yourself. So always remember that without constant practice and constant reflection, you can always go back down the ladder. You can go through the matrix backwards, back down to level 1, unless you're constantly reflecting and constantly learning.